Okay. With respect to everybody's time and to be, starting as we should. So welcome. Thank you all for coming this morning. We have a great turnout this morning. We have some things to work on and some things to discuss, announce, and we have an upgrade also. So do you want to do a roll call, or do you want to? I ticked everybody off pretty much, or do you want to? Why don't you go ahead and do a roll call?
Pam, you don't really tick people off as much as you bring.
Say it again.
You don't really tick people off as much as you just bring them into doing things.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Dr. Murphy.
I think so.
Okay. Dr. Papish.
Here.
Dr. Larson.
Here.
Dr. Stumiller.
Here.
Dr. Leno. Dr. D. Coussard.
Yes.
Dr. McGinley. Dr. Kim. Dr. Chung. Dr. McGurty.
Here.
Dr. Midori.
Here.
Dr. Templeton.
Here.
Dr. Greenhut. Dr. Raybridge.
Here.
Dr. May.
Here.
Dr. Albania. Dr. Rodriguez. Dr. Brown. Dr. Brooke. Dr. Cohen.
Yep.
Dr. Santos. Dr. Felice.
Here.
Dr. Kukuza.
Felice.
Dr. Quintaro.
All right, thanks, everybody. The packets were sent out with minutes in them from the September 25th meeting. I found no additions or corrections or deletions. If anyone has anything, let us know, speak up now, or I'll ask for an approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Evan.
Second.
Second? All right, great. Thank guys. So just old business, bring up, where we're going with the supraglottic pilot project. You guys, this thing is exploding. I mean, it's like going everywhere. The problem is people are not, of course, providing us the data afterwards. So we're trying to hit it from the backside and see what we can do to possibly encourage people to submit their data. We have the help of Pam Finnerty, who's actually calling individual agencies, and next we're going to have to reach out to medical directors, because if you've allowed your agency to sign up for this, they have to submit the data. That's the whole point behind this thing, and we need to know, is it working, is it successful, and what's happening. We found a few little kinks in the beginning, but otherwise nothing glaring yet. However, I hope everybody is on board to make sure we get the information. David, did you want to?
No, it's been, I think I had said this last time, BLS providers are just stoked about this. This has lit a fire under a lot of them that they haven't had in a very long time. It's been great. A lot of people have said that. The data, the agencies do have it. Us not getting the data comes from the state not being able to get the data in the right way because of mapping issues and different things like that. We're working on that behind the scenes in a lot of different ways. Above ground, underground, around ground, to try and get it. But we are working on it, and a lot of good has been done. I still sleep pretty good at night because there's a lot of folks that are doing it, and it's being QA'd at their agency and the regional level, and so that doesn't bother me as much. It's just a matter of seeing how much is going on. We have about 70 some odd agencies doing it and over 800 providers trained. Yeah, there's 137 that have applied, but ones that are actually doing it, there's somewhere around 80 some odd that are doing it. At the state level, it looks like we're seeing about maybe 60 or 70 insertions around the state, which seems kind of light to a bunch of us, so we're trying to round out what those numbers actually and truly are. There's something like 4,500 cardiac arrest handled at the BLS level at the state, and so we're just trying to see where those numbers jive or don't jive, but we're still moving forward.
And also, could they, you know how they gather all the data for acute cardiac arrest? Can we pop a window in there so that?
The data is there at the agency level, it's just a matter of getting
For the
it
state,
mapped
yeah.
up to both the regional and the state level.
Okay.
And so we're still working on that.
I thought it was solved before we went live, from what we were told.
Clearly.
Okay, clearly not. Okay.
Well, that also illustrates that there are other challenges from an EPCR perspective across the state. It is not unique to this project. So there are lots of data collection issues across the state.
This project has highlighted it,
Yes.
that there are
Yeah.
other, that there are other things at the state that need to be done, and they've sort of recognized that and been working on that. To the point where they took out almost, 900 rules that the state had to be able to complete a PCR, and just removed them, in the idea that they are trying to improve quality at the documentation point instead of doing it on the other side of it, and realized that that wasn't working. So they removed a whole bunch of rules, and there's a new schematron that's coming up in January that should hopefully make a lot of this a lot easier as well.
We talked about this at the other meeting. How much power do we need, to just prove that this is safe and effective? At which point we could, because, my only concern about this in the back of my mind is it gonna become like nitrous, which is a never-ending experimental, right? I mean,
Well, no, we finally got it,
nitrous
no,
is
that's,
finally.
yeah,
is
no,
it?
yeah.
I thought it never got.
Oh, no, it did,
is.
it's even in the collaborative protocols now, we did a little bit of a back step to get it into collaborative, I can speak, protocols, but we went back and gave them all the data we had, but no, it's official. The state tried to push back on it initially at CMAC, and we're like, no, you guys approved this like, I don't know, 8 years ago, 9 years
Yeah.
ago.
But that's the
You
thing,
can't-
how
you
long
can't
was it an
push back.
experiment?
It was an experiment for quite some time.
Yeah.
That's very true.
But
And
this,
so-
this is on the forefront of CMAC and the state's agenda. So, like hypothermia, they let that go a little bit longer, but I think that this will not go long. 6 months, I would think, is
Well,
when
so
they'll wanna see data,
Right.
and then, a year we'll make a decision.
Cool.
About, that's the timing, they say.
Yeah.
So, we'll keep on them, and make sure.
So it is not in the national curriculum for the EMT level. So there's the challenge, right? So this needs to move to that level then as well, really.
That's the
from an
benefit of this
educational
study.
perspective.
That's right.
Yeah.
You prove it's effective, and then you can actually move this nationally.
That's right.
Yeah.
Kind of changes
And-
a lot of what EMS
Yes.
does.
That's right.
And also to prove the point that they're totally capable of it. And if we can get the data to show the rescues and,
Yeah.
all the things that it's, the positive aspects of it, the
So-
outcomes.
So we're also working with ESO, which is one of the
vendors,
EHR
right?
vendors, right?
Yeah.
And they have a tremendous amount of great national data on this. And what we want to do is compare our state data to national data and try and make a push at the national level to change national standards for EMT.
All right. Thank you for all your due diligence, and please pass on to Pam. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, because it really helps.
Okay.
Okay, next, service upgrades. We have Beacon here this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr.
We're here for application to pass along for upgrade to EMT service. Anthony, do you want to talk about it?
Sure. So, we've been in service for more than 6 decades, and we are very community oriented. We put this application forward for the benefit of the community we serve. Our CO1 is very limited, so we're not. We feel that we can. We have all the BLS adjuncts, and we're hungry for more. So we feel that we can make an AMT program successful here in the ambulance corps. We do have a mix of employees and volunteers. I'm a volunteer, active every Friday night. If you're in Beacon and you need to call 911, you'll see me, whether you like it or not. So, we actually have a couple of, we have quite a few AMTs in our midst, right? So we sent some to the Port Jervis School. the class report Jervis is holding. We are looking forward to sending more to Dutchess Community College. All right, we see that on the spring bulletin, so that Bill sent us. We're excited by it, you know, and we feel like we can help each other, right? So there's key consideration 8, which is to promote and incentivize a tiered response, right? We're already at BLS level. We can operate at an AEMT level, and we can also help put the feed Dutchess Community College into encouraging them to continue an AEMT course by feeding that pipeline as well.
What's your call volume?
Call volume is about 3,000.
All right. Is Dr. Bruck here?
Dr. Bruck's not here.
Okay, no worries. So you guys, this is, will be our second AEMT service in our region. Beacon has been, exceptional volunteer agency, as he said, forever. And so this is actually kind of a nice next step for them. Their application was complete. Mark read it more than me. He thought he had to run the meeting this morning because I was called to Supreme Court, and then they excused me. I was like, yes. So this has to be a roll call vote. I don't know if anybody wants to see the application per se. It's complete, and basically that's our job now, is just to make sure everything's complete in the packet and that we pass it along with our wishes to the state. So we'll do a roll call vote.
Okay. Dr. Coussard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Dr. McGurty?
Yes.
Dr. Maduri?
Yes.
Dr. Templeton?
Yes.
Dr. Raybridge?
Yes.
Dr. May?
Yes.
Dr. Cohen?
Yes.
Dr. Felice?
Yes.
Dr. Papish?
Yep.
Dr. Murphy?
Yes.
Okay.
So unanimously, say that 3 times fast, passes.
Thank you, Doc.
You guys are welcome. Okay, we have a few other additional adjuncts added on for BLS. Otisville Volunteer Fire Department added glucometry. Active International, I don't know what that is, added a defibrillatory site, and FIAN Insurance Agency. I guess if you get the bill and you pass out, they're gonna have an AED.
Those are ad sites for different companies.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm trying to keep everybody entertained this morning. Otherwise, that's all for upgrades. Evaluation Subcommittee Report, Dr. Felice. We don't have anything, right? We haven't
No,
had-
there was that one case that you mentioned.
Yeah, it's still working with the medical director, so I'll let you know.
Medical director.
Yeah. Nothing else for there. I don't have any enforcements. What?
Nada.
How long have I been doing this, you guys? Since 2001? I've never not had enforcements.
I guess they all came last month.
You've been doing it longer than that.
Actually, that's true. That is true. It's like, no, you're right. It's like 95. Just keep me grounded, Eric. Okay. Helicopter committee report.
We had a meeting this morning and mostly discussed the multiple aircraft that were called to the 2 MCIs that had occurred in the region within the last 3 months since our last meeting. And had a good discussion on our involvement and how we can continue to be involved when necessary and when requested for these events.
It worked out. I think, Frank, you're going to give us a little highlight of that one MCI?
I can.
Okay. Because it worked out really well with that event. So kudos to the guys on the ground. Do you want to do it now, Frank?
I can.
Does everybody know Frank? Please introduce yourself.
Frank Cassidy, I'm Orange County EMS Coordinator. The incident she's talking about was on, most of you read about it, was on 84, a bus incident. Approximately, initially we thought we had 50 patients. Turns out we did have 44 patients. The bus, later on we found out, the fluid tire went down off the road, down in a ravine, quite a ravine, which was made it tough to get the patients out. It happened in a rural area of 84. Getting to it was not an issue, but it was lengthy to get there. Like most EMS agencies, when we run with a couple people on an ambulance. So what happens in Orange County, myself and my deputies, we step up and run, a lot of times run the command section. My first deputy EMS coordinator, Orange County, we have the county split up into 7 districts. I have a deputy EMS coordinator in each district, again, myself. So in Orange County, my deputy EMS coordinator for that district was the first one there. I was the second one there. I went to Unified Command. It worked out to a T. All 3 agency emergency services were there. I would say this incident worked out. Everything we do when we train, it actually worked. We had a total of 44 patients. We had a roster from the bus knowing how many patients were aboard. Unfortunately, we had 1 adult teacher deceased at the scene. We wound up transporting the other 43. As we said, we did call in 3 medevacs. There were 3 criticals that we flew from the scene to Westchester. They lived right on the same side of the highway. This is considered, because the number came to me as 50 patients, considered a type 3 EMS MCI plan, which actually calls for 15 BLS ambulances and 5 ALS ambulances. We exceeded that. We had 25 ambulances at the scene. We had 80 EMS personnel at the scene. Things were handled very well. There was the cooperation between the state police, the Orange County sheriffs, the local fire department, which did a great job, because a lot of these patients had to be hauled up the hill, the ones that couldn't walk.
It was like a 50-foot ravine,
It
right?
was a 50-foot ravine.
Yeah, that's
Keep in
crazy.
mind, the bus rolled. About 80% of the patients were ejected from the bus that were laying around. Unfortunately, that's the reason we had a deceased patient. She landed on a pile of rocks, unfortunately.
That's no seatbelts on the bus.
No seatbelts on a bus. It wasn't a school bus, it was a commercial bus.
Yeah.
These students were on their way to Pennsylvania to a band affair. I would say this thing worked out to a T. We had the patients off the scene in about 1 hour and 45 minutes. Our 911 dispatchers notified the four hospitals in Orange County, including Westchester as a 5th. We did transport all 4. We utilized Garnet as our trauma 2, St. Luke's as our trauma 3, and of course our 2 community hospitals. Some of the patients were later transferred out of the hospitals down to Westchester. I forget the number,
I think it was only like 3.
Yeah, I think another.
It was very small. It was a couple people that had head injuries that were at
Yeah.
a non-trauma center, but it's okay.
Yeah,
I mean, when you're talking that much triage in that shorter period of time, Frank, it was impressive.
It was very, I tell you what was really helped out a lot. They had a roster of who was on that bus. That roster could match up how many patients we had in the treatment area. We knew that we didn't have any more patients trapped under the bus. That was a plus for myself and the fire department. So the situation worked out very well.
Was that a piece of paper they had, or was that sent to you? How'd you get that?
She actually had one, and actually we could have had one sent to us from Farmingdale. They said they had it, but she had one on.
I think what it was a little checklist when they got on the bus, to be honest. That's what it looked like.
Well, I tell you
Yeah.
what,
It's impressive though,
since
because
this
look at what
incident,
happens.
We had a countywide meeting of the superintendents of schools and stuff. We encouraged all of them to have a roster, especially when they go on school trips, if something like this ever happens. Besides what happened at the scene, the county decided to open up a unification center at the community college. It worked out very well. We sent the other 4 buses that were not involved in the accident. They were traveling as 5 bus loads. Those 4 buses were sent to the community college. Parents who were coming here all the way from Long Island were directed to go there. We had psychiatrists, people to talk to the students. It worked out very well. That was set up by the city of Middletown Police Department. And overall, the whole thing worked out well. Any questions? Thank you, guys.
They're actually coming up. When is it? Do you remember, Matt?
I think it's next week.
They're coming up to say thank you. They're going to Westchester, St. Luke's, and they're coming to Garnet. I think staff from the hospital and students wrote a bunch of stuff, so it's made a big impact. And funny as you know, do you remember the Commissioner of Health, Dr. Gelman? She was our Commissioner of Health and moved to Suffolk County. Well, guess who the Commissioner of Health was calling me from Suffolk County? It was Gelman. I go, hey, there's no fair, you have my cell phone and insider info.
Yeah, she called me twice while I was at the scene. So.
Yeah, exactly. And she had the stuff. Thank you, Frank. Let's see.
They did a tremendous job at the incident that was in Wappinger
Just the other day.
Falls also.
Yeah, I mean, because that was the part, having it so organized, that's what I meant by what I said to David, is that when the crafts landed, the patients were there, lined up, ready to go. It makes such a big difference, and, you know, to align and be able to triage them that quickly, you know, there was, as Frank said, many ejected, so they were walking wounded, but still, some of them were pretty,
Yeah, pretty beat up.
very beat up.
How many did we fly out of the Wappinger Falls job?
3, I believe it was.
Two from the scene. Took 2 from the scene and 8 total.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were back there.
Still about today.
Westchester got
it's-
8 total.
I'm sorry?
Westchester got 8 total.
Yeah, so the one in Wappingers was a gas line that exploded, the back part of the house, including fire, and so they had to pull 3 people, I think, out from the house, and then there were a number of other injuries around. That was the case where they didn't know how many people were where, and they were looking for folks. So that involved a lot of departments, and that I think went very well also. Maybe you could speak about that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So we initially responded 3 helicopters directly to the scene. I don't believe they had a full understanding of how many patients they anticipated at that point. Air 2 and Hackensack transported patients directly from the scene, and 7-5 stood by just in the event of any additional patients being found during the search efforts. And after that point, you know, there was a lot of good coordination between the hospitals and LifeNet and Hackensack to move some of the specialty patients down to Westchester. I think in total, Westchester received 8 patients by aircraft over the course of about 2 hours in the immediate aftermath of the incident.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, guys. RTAC. Bill, is this where you want this to be added in, or?
No, I reckon I'm just gonna go
Okay.
So RTAC met this last Friday at Good Sam Hospital. And of course, there was a review of these 2 MCIs because a lot of these hospitals were involved. You know, sort of generated out of this, which is sort of recurring theme, was, well, you know, we don't really have a way to coordinate MCIs in this Hudson Valley thing. So, and you know, I proposed, and we have raised this many times, is that there is a standing forum of the hospitals. It is based among the emergency preparedness folks at every one of those hospitals, and that is the MACE team, the Mutual Aid Coordinating Entity. That came out of the old NORMAT, which was the Northern Metropolitan Hospital Association. And, you know, these emergency preparedness folks, you know, every hospital's had to get an emergency preparedness person. It's part of their requirement now under, well, various accreditation agencies. And so they have formed a thing called MACE, right? It's been around for a while. They have 2 people who are always on call. There are 2 people who have phone numbers that are always on call, and they can, and you know, they've been used for a variety of purposes, including MCIs, but other things, right? All of a sudden, you have a massive supply shortage in your hospital of lactated ringers because the truck never delivered or something like that. And so they can help each other. But they can also play a very powerful role in ramping up these hospitals if we have a large-scale MCI. So there was, you know, I sort of have to keep reminding these people at RTAC that this thing exists. So we're gonna do another official presentation, Frank was there, there was other folks from MACE who are familiar with MACE. We're gonna do another official presentation to the RTAC. And I think that probably should be the forum, at least, you know, obviously, look, it's gonna be something, the county's gonna coordinate their, 911 center's gonna do some coordination. But in terms of like hospital distribution, secondary transfers, all that kind of stuff, and just letting the hospitals know that, hey, get ready, this is what's happened in the region. There's nothing better out there that we have, and we shouldn't have to create a new form where we have something of people who take their role very seriously, and that's the folks, the emergency preparedness folks in MACE. And like I said, I believe in every hospital that we have in the Hudson Valley. Is that true, Frank? Pretty much?
No, I'm Rich.
Rich, sorry.
Yeah, I was also there
Yeah.
and brought up about what the MACE can do, and we've been asked to present to them the next meeting, but after the meeting, they asked if I would get to them sooner. But it's, every hospital has the opportunity to be part of it. There's 31 hospitals have signed on to it, and like Dr. Larson mentioned, there's always two of us on duty. That one of us gets the call, we'll get the call as the lead. They would go to the hospital, sit on their incident command, and the other one would be the information gatherer. How many patients can you take? Like Dr. Larson said, we've had a couple hospitals run out of linen, run out of supplies, and we can page it out, hey, what do you need? A couple times in Rockland where they ran out of the vaccine for rubella, I think it was, we wound up getting that from other hospitals. So it's a resource that's there that can be used.
Yeah, I mean, and there's actually, and I would urge you folks here at this table to also sign up. I'm a physician resource for MACE. So there's a couple physicians they can call also if they need to bring into that think tank to decide about whatever, distributing patients, whatever it might be. So anyway, so we're keeping, pushing that. There was also talk about the EMS field triage and transfer guidelines. There was a great presentation by Dr. Stewart, who's the head of peds surgery at Maria Ferrari, Westchester Medical Center, about taking care of kids in trauma. And his big emphasis was we're radiating the hell out of these kids. And, we got CAT scanners, and it was like the solution to everything, so everyone got pan scanned, and that's not a good thing for adults. It's a terrible thing for kids, and they're actually starting to come up with, actually clear data that you start pan scanning, a kid and then do multiple CAT scans on them because you think they have a trauma and you don't want to miss something, and this is what your approach is, this will catch up with them in later years, okay? And they have, they're starting to see very definitive patterns, and we're using, unfortunately, we're starting to cut back now because there's some consciousness that is happening about, using all this radiation on these kids. And the other thing is, a lot of the stuff that we're looking for, what he says is we're not doing anything about it. He hasn't taken out. This is a trauma dude who's been in big city hospitals, who's been in Westchester Medical Center. He says he hasn't taken out a spleen in years. Okay, and so what? So this kid has a grade 3 or a grade 2 or a grade 1 spleen lack. Doesn't make any difference in terms of the management. And there's a lot of stuff like that, and very careful guidelines about when we use CT on kids' heads and all those kinds of things. So it was a good presentation. I mean, not something that EMS is involved with, but it's a good thing for us in the emergency department. So we have an emergency department forum here. I thought I would speak. It was a great presentation. It just makes you think about it. And using our clinical skills, using sort of a number of the rules that are out there for when we scan kids, because there are some good rules, P. Karen, all these different, names. So just being on top of that kind of stuff. And then the last thing was, new guidelines from the Brain Trauma Foundation. So the Brain Trauma Foundation has been working and came up basically in April, starting to get distributed. And this is really guidelines that are focused on pre-hospital and emergency department care of that newly injured brain trauma patient. So I think these are very good. I would propose, this is what we're going to do down at Westchester. I'm going to bring these up. Our meeting is coming next Monday. That we're going to review these brain trauma guidelines over till our next meeting, and really try to look. A lot of the stuff we're doing, it's and some of it's a review, but I think it kind of goes in. And I'm looking at the latest copy of ASEP Now, American College of Emergency Physicians magazine, and they have a good list there. But anyway, it kind of goes in first to the sort of the assessment guidelines, just the use of Glasgow coma, review of pupils. Then it gets into the treatment, the sort of general guidelines for airway ventilation and oxygenation. What kind of fluid resuscitation we should be using in the field, the whole questions of hyperventilation and hyperosmolar therapy, and when we suspect, TBI and increased intracranial pressure. So these are all guidelines that are really directed at primarily at pre-hospital and some to us in the emergency departments. But I think we should review them before the next meeting, and then make sure that we're implementing that out among our EMS folks.
So what you put out, can you send it also to this body?
Sure. Yeah, I will.
This way everybody can see, from it. I get that journal, so I'll
The actual guideline is very well written. If you have the time to read, it's not that long.
It's
10 pages, and it's all, each clinical question is followed by the evidence for it. So.
Which is nice, because then you have something to refer to when people say, "But where'd you get that from?" Also, did you guys talk about the field guidelines?
Yes. So the field triage guidelines were definitely reviewed, and so
We'll send the copy out. With the minutes.
So and there were other people there. If there's anything else that I missed, by all means, speak up.
On the MACE stuff, we did a presentation here and a lot of new faces.
Yeah,
If
no, it was
you've got an
excellent.
EM committee, and we'll come to the hospital and do a presentation to them about what the team can do.
Yeah, because I just think people aren't aware of, what's available and what's around and what we already have in place. So I think that's half the battle.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's turnover, so that's what.
Yeah. All right. So next is quality improvement for Jeff, but he's not here, so we'll pass that along.
I do have one quick thing with the quality improvement. The Quality Improvement Committee has put out a new manual that anybody that's working with EMS and ALS services should be looking at. It's available on their website, so just be aware that it's there. It's a brand new, I guess it was completely rewritten. It really wasn't even revised. So it's a new manual that everybody should be aware of. And any of the agencies that you represent should also be familiar with it.
To tag on to that, if you don't mind, although it looks like a roulette wheel on the front, sometimes,
It's an eye?
sometimes quality improvement is roulette. No. But it is on the state website, under the operations section, there's a quality improvement area there, and we're gonna start putting up the state measures that are the NEM score measures, National Maintenance Quality Assurance measures, including the way for agencies to look at the numerator denominator components to track all their own different things for all those different state measures. And our team is working on securing funding so that we can go out to all of the regions around the state and do quality improvement for regions and agencies in those areas as well, based on this new quality improvement program cycle. So that's coming down the road also.
Fantastic. Protocol committee, Mike.
Thank you. You've heard about the Supergonic pilot program. We continue to monitor that at those meetings. We have a working group working on updating the RSI program, the protocols as well as the training component of that. Of course, that will come to you once that work is pulled together. We continue to experience medication shortages in the region. The region has written to the state to ask about the status of that. We are waiting for the SEMSCO and the CMAC to come out with new guidance on replacement medications for medication shortages. Bill, do you want to add anything to that?
No, they're just looking at a different way of replacing the medication and putting it into policy so that we don't have to request every time that there is a medication shortage.
Yeah, because it happens so often.
Right.
On again, off again, on again, off again.
Mhm.
So again, those would normally have to go through an approval process, so we're looking to streamline that. There's still some regional options that we still need to address that are still open. One is advanced EMTs in a tactical EMS setting, and the other one is also the approved list of alternative airway devices, and actually Bernice is working on that. For that to come back here, and that's the alternative airways that we can use. The protocol exam currently is being conducted here in person at the regional office. It's currently an online exam. I'm sorry, not online, but via computer, which allows us to then be able to better track the statistical information and data that comes from that exam. We've decided to table any further work on the protocol exam as New York State has formed with the SEMSCO a committee to look at the credentialing process. In the last few years, we've talked about the challenges that we have with regions having the authorization to credential. And so now a special work group has been put together, and they're hoping to work on that fairly quickly. And it's just not worth putting any more time into it until we see what's gonna happen from that process. The state as well as the SEMSCO is also working on standards, and that work group is also being pulled together. They're looking at those from a variety of aspects, all the way from dispatch to quality improvement to operations, and you can expect something coming out of that as well. That was included in the governor's budget for this current year. There is a SEMSCO CMAC meeting in December. We expect to see the updates from the collaborative group. There'll be several protocol changes that will be coming out, and the goal is that all new protocol changes then would take effect on January 1st. So we're still working on that process and that cycle, but the goal is to get all state collaborative protocol updates to come out once a year, beginning on January 1st.
Jeremy sent a update yesterday, or no, this morning,
Okay.
that we're right on track.
Good.
Yeah,
for the
meeting on the
release.
30th for people to discuss, he's holding
Yeah.
handbacks for-
Perfect, so it's coming together.
Yeah,
And
so
so-
it's on the agenda for December already, so.
Perfect, right, so that's the important thing to remember is that January is when you can expect to see collaborative protocol updates.
And what we're gonna talk about on November 30th is, can we roll this out and educate everybody in a more streamlined fashion that everybody's not having to do, like, how can we make it the most efficient? So we'll talk about that.
Great, thank you. At our next meeting, we're having a Mandy Mann from the New York State Office of Addiction Services and Supports. She's going to be making a presentation for us on leave behind Narcan kits and as well as opioid test strips and other programs. And so she's going to join us at our next meeting. And that is all that I have.
Thank you. CMAC,
Just one question
Yeah.
on that. So, do you think they will incorporate this latest rendition of the trauma brain stuff.
So Pam was doing separate work on the
For
TBI
TBI,
stuff.
really TBI for, what are we doing for them? So we put forward a bunch of information, but I'll send this to him today, if you send it to me today.
Yeah, okay.
Because we should have it done by then, but we still are tweaking it, so it would be easy to add it.
It would have to be on the December agenda to be in the January, included in the January update.
Yeah.
January 25.
I mean, we're working on the protocol, we already had that,
Yeah.
but we did not have that info, or
Yeah.
that specific,
Right.
document, so, I think it'd be easy to add.
Wasn't there something that we were gonna bring to the REMAC on the protocol committee, to discuss? Do you have it?
I'll look back. I didn't think that there was anything else that we needed to bring back. There was, now that I'm thinking about it, there was one more piece that the minimum equipment and medication, list has been updated. However, it has not been distributed. And we are waiting for Jeff to return to work because, we're unable to get it up on the website at this point.
But the advisory is created and has gone out.
Yeah, the advisory went out.
The advisory went, okay.
It's just not available on the website.
I see, okay. But I don't see,
No?
oh, wait a second here. Just the RSI program in general. Oh, I know, there was a discussion, yeah, but that was gonna go to Dr. Daly about pressors.
Oh, pre-hospital push dose pressors, is that what we're?
Yeah,
Yeah, some regions are doing that.
Peri-intubation.
Yeah.
yeah,
Pretty.
yeah, and so maybe that was the discussion that, so if you'd like to have that, go right ahead.
I mean, I don't know if we have to have it yet, since it's not.
Well,
like-
is it something that the group would like to entertain, to push up? Because certainly Dr. Murphy can bring that up as well.
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy's been the real person to propose this and really, basing it upon, our MCRIT fellows and our guys, who do podcasts on this and really feel like it's the way to go.
And ease of administration for mess, right? Like instead of using a pump and trying to get, it's
Yeah.
push those pressors.
Draw
It's
down.
just easier.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine most of you have done it or do it or.
Yeah.
That's been our practice in the helicopter and LifeNet for about 2.5 years.
Any problems?
No, we've published actually a study of a review of our use.
Oh, send it to us.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
That'd be good, because you probably had significant number of uses.
Many, because across the country, we manage
Yeah.
over 2,000 airways a year, and
Yeah.
so many of them are in shock and hypotensive when we meet them. And we've initiated a new protocol where we will give push dose pressors until we reach an adequate
Certain
blood pressure. And for adults only, not pediatrics, and it's over 80 blood pressure, so we would then give them induction agent and a parallel.
After, yep.
Yeah, but not until then.
Okay. That's kind of cool.
We've actually made those as two
Yeah.
measures
There you
for the quality improvement piece.
Yeah, yes,
State.
yeah, from them.
No.
Yeah, from them.
So the New York City protocols have it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna
Yes.
say.
So you
So
could
one of the
copy
things,
that, or-
one of the things you could say is if you've approved it somewhere, the state can't not
Right.
give it to us.
Once it's approved in one region, other regions can use it.
Yeah, so
State of Pennsylvania, it's part of the ALS protocols is push dose
that's
pressors.
where we can
So
go
that's
around.
something, I mean, do we wanna make a motion now to, ask for permission for it? Or do we wanna look into this more and discuss it the next REMAC meeting?
I don't think there's any medical dilemma about its use. It's standard
Right, that's
practice.
what I'm saying, I mean,
Just the logistics.
Let's
of
do it.
how you know.
So we,
So make a motion.
yeah, we chose phenylephrine, not epinephrine, because there was some evidence that epinephrine was harmful in the long run. And so the phenylephrine dose we chose was 200 micrograms push. No response in 5 minutes, give another 200 micrograms. And that has been successful. We only had like a couple out of hundreds where the blood pressure dramatically rose for about 5 minutes and fell. And we reduced the number of peri-intubation arrests by giving push dose pressors prior to full RSI induction and paralysis. So that was successful, we believed, and not as many people died, which was good. We've all had that incidence where last thing we do to a person is intubate them and then they're dead. And so we were able to avoid that often. But the difficulty was, how do you teach people to give 200 micrograms of phenylephrine? And we were fortunate in that we were able to get, we call them Neo sticks, where they're pre-packaged syringes of 200 micrograms. And so not only compounding pharmacies will do it, but nationally we work with McKesson, and they were able to find a group to create these. And we weren't the only ones who wanted them, so that also was helpful in that there were many groups that wanted what we refer to as Neo sticks. So there's a possibility you might be able to obtain 200 microgram phenylephrine pre-filled one-dose syringes.
Jeff, do you know what they're using? Epi? Epi? Or anybody using Levo? Or, I mean, you could use anything really. I mean, the only thing is no one's carrying phenylephrine, I imagine, in our region right now. So we'd have to bring that on.
Yeah, it'd have to be.
So there is more to discuss. See, there's always more to talk about. We can talk about it.
It's good to bring it up to the collaborative group though, because if you can start pushing it and getting it
No
on
pun
the radar.
intended.
Yeah.
Dr. Felicia Vassar, you guys use push dose
Oh, yeah.
epi.
Yeah.
Epi, right?
Epi.
Yeah.
We have to mix it ourselves, obviously. So
Yeah.
we'd be
Yeah, we kind of have
confusing
to
with that. It's not hard.
do the
Just gotta
same.
keep
The
it
pharmacy
straight.
doesn't get all over you?
You just
I
don't
never
tell the
asked
pharmacist.
That's right. That's right.
There's a code card specifically so you don't have to call a pharmacy.
So you just dilute it in the syringe yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it myself, put a label on it. I know what it is.
Then you have to get a driver's license to get phenylephrine. So.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Okay, so let's, remind me and I'll send it to, I'll send it out to, the guys in the collaborative and just say we had this discussion this morning.
Yeah.
And, then we can move it forward and talk about, agents of choice and what we would wanna see happen. I like that term, neo-stick. Pretty interesting. All right.
Neo,
Cool
phenylephrine
name.
is a
Thanks,
drug.
Realize that we
choice
missed
for
that.
this.
Yeah, I knew it was there.
It's just, we've gone out of, in EDs, we're not using Neo that much. But I really like the idea of using Neo or Epi or having both options.
And do we want to add something else to the protocol to do that? Stick with Epic, which they know well. Something to discuss.
That's true.
Well, probably we have the most experience with it,
Yeah.
and we have data to show, and we could probably actually gain from our colleagues in New York City, any safety measures or things like that, things they've run into, because then we don't have to reinvent the wheel. All right, thank you, everybody. Anything else from CMAC, Mike and David?
We haven't had one, next one's in December, so.
No, we had, because we talked about it in September, never mind. We talked about RSI training. A couple of statements have come out from, the Bureau. One is, a policy statement on, trauma designation and, provisional process of how, you become the trauma center, and it's really to facilitate the hospital trying to get initial verification as such. So we'll make sure we can attach this to the minutes. We'll send it out. In that same vein, the state sent out to us that Health Alliance Kingston Hospital is a newly designated provisional level 3 trauma center. It began October 16th with going forward with that designation. And they just sent it notification so everyone knows.
Yeah, I'm sorry that was announced at the RTAC.
That's okay. That's why you got me. That's why you got
That's
me.
right. Thank you.
Level 3 adult only, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Then, we have a couple of other announcements to make. Dr. Felice has been, named, as recommending that Mr. Manhart be approved as an RSI trainer for New Paltz. We'll need to, discuss this whole process of RSI, which you guys are doing through the protocol committee, but he made a recommendation that we provide this gentleman as an RSI trainer for the whole New Paltz squad. Okay? Then, actually, kind of a sad note we received. This is from Ulster County EMS Council. I don't know if people know the passing of one of our colleagues, Jeff Hook, who used to be, well, he was with Woodstock primarily, but, worked as a local paramedic and a chief paramedic through the Woodstock Fire District, and, was on staff with Sloper Willen, Alamo, Transcare, M-Star, and Empress, just to name a few. He was a very dedicated medic who passed away on November 4th at home. So if I could ask for a moment of silence for our colleague. Thank you, everyone. Jeff, had 20-plus years of service to the area, so that's a pretty dedicated career right there. We talked about the last time under new business and open forum of having these meetings. Could they be virtual? And as I explained the last time, the state has mandated that they're in person and that we video them for people to view. But one of the things I was thinking we could bring forward is, could we do a mixture of in-person and virtual? Could we be 50-50, something like that, just because it's difficult with everyone's time and everyone's, we're stretched pretty thin. I just think our attendance would be tremendous, even though today you guys have knocked me out of the park. But I think that just to make it easier for everybody, because we want, participation, and we want everyone's input. And so, we could bring it forward again, but I think it's gonna die on the vine, right?
The executive order that requires open public meetings for us says that we can do something similar to that, but every place that there is somebody has to be an open meeting, and it has to be an invitation, and anybody can go there. So if you were having it at your house, you would have to have almost.
All right, so I'll invite all of you, but none of you can come.
That would be the,
Coffee and donuts.
that would be the only way that we would be able to do that.
But, I mean, it can be a standing invite.
Okay, so suppose we have a quorum of people who are physically here, okay? Because we would have, as the way the rules are now, we would have to have a physical quorum here. The question is, we might be able to expand that meeting, so at least to pull in the people who couldn't make it by video. And there's no rule about that.
I see what you're saying, so
in other
yeah.
words, that we don't wanna have everyone here thinking, Karen's very good about sending out an announcement about the Hudson Valley, and she also asks, please respond, so she gets an idea of who's gonna actually show up. So obviously, we need a quorum to show up. This is the same problem we're having at Westchester. We need a quorum to show up, but it would be nice, there are some other things. Maybe a person, a director has a meeting that's gonna start in a half an hour or something that they have to be to, they can't be there, but at least they can be on the meeting and catch the drift of what's going on. But we just have to ensure, at least in the meantime, that we have that quorum. Physical quorum at the place of the meeting.
We could have a quorum rotation.
Yeah.
You could do that, absolutely.
Or you could use, like, say people have to be there, you could use like various locations, like a hospital or whatever, within the region, and people could go there if it's closer. That might be easy to have like a couple set locations.
That's an idea too.
How early do you have to announce where the other locations are?
Karen?
It would be the same thing as the regular meeting, has to
Yeah,
be 10
so
days.
we send it out
right.
10 days in advance, but, I mean, could we do this as a walking, moving pony show to alternative sites, alternative
You could do, right,
destinations?
like like RTAC does that, right? They rotate.
Yes, they do.
You could do a similar.
I mean, if people wanted to be, you know, the host of a meeting, we could rotate through certain sites.
Maybe we should get Bill to draft what this would look like and bring it back to the group,
Okay,
right? Give him an opportunity to lay this out. I mean, there's some really great suggestions here, but
so we have 5-6 meetings a year,
5.
5.
certainly I think it's a, viable alternative for those who are unable to
We
attend.
used to.
A long time ago, we
Long
used to
time.
have
Wait, my
meetings
first
at,
meeting
like,
was in
ambulance
Ferdy
quarters.
Anderson's house. I didn't know where I was. I thought I entered into a hippie garden. Do you remember that? It was so wild. I don't know who was around at that point. That was a long time ago. As Dr.
Well, as
Eric
Dr.
pointed
Larson
out. Yeah, so let's discuss this further. And also the other thing that's nice is to see other people's institutions.
As long as they're closer.
Closer to you. Okay, open forum, anything anyone wants to bring up?
Well, let's one quick question. You know, we have 7 counties, right?
Yeah.
How many other SEMSCO REMACs have like that number? Is that very common?
Yes, it
There's
is.
18.
It is. Some of them, although they have less
Upstate is common, not
less
downstate.
counties, they have a lot of
Land to
a lot
cover.
more territory to
Yeah,
cover.
the territory, yeah.
Fine then.
But there's not too many regions that have as many hospitals as we do in our region.
And it's actually true, because Westchester absconded,
Yeah.
so we're 6.
Where is he? Just one announcement from the New York State Rural Ambulance Services Task Force is going to wrap up their work by the end of the year. Some real remarkable work. But we are going to be holding over the next 6 weeks sometime, we're going to be holding some town hall meetings. They will all be virtual. So the notice will go to the region, and Bill can then send it out to all of the agencies as well as the REMAC. It's a good opportunity to discuss with the Rural Ambulance Services Task Force the challenges and some solutions that you can see coming in New York State with regards to rural access to EMS, interfacility transfer troubles, EMS coordinator issues that you have, and all of that. I mean, within the hospital, right? EMS coordinators to coordinate activities, and so look for those, again, within the next 6 weeks sometime. It sounds like we're gonna host one of them at the SEMSCO meeting Monday evening of that week.
Wasn't there also an announcement, and it's not in my packet, about an award? Can you help me with that, David?
Yeah, it's my pleasure to bring to this group that our own Michael Ben and I received at the last Vital Science Conference a few weeks ago, both the EMS Leadership Award from the state and the Commissioner of Health Award, the highest award of the state. And our region had quite a number of finalists that received state awards, things like Volunteer of Excellence and ALS Provider of Excellence, BLS Provider of Excellence, those kinds of things as well. So
EMS educator.
EMS educator.
It's clear from the new award and the award committee that everything was going to the Hudson Valley, but those were the most qualified.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It didn't help that we gave him food or something?
Air Methods has a national contract with the American Red Cross, and the regional American Red Cross Blood Bank is now supplying the Harris and Wallkill aircraft with whole blood. So we will now carry 2 units of whole blood.
Nice.
So for those at Garnet or Mid-Hudson, you'll see us bringing patients in transfused whole blood.
And is it a much easier process paper-wise?
It's the same exact tracking and monitoring and storage, and whenever you move it, you have to record that you're moving it, and then
Yeah.
if you don't use it, replacing it. So the paperwork is no different.
Okay.
So it's,
It is New York.
Yeah, correct. Okay, anything else, guys? Yes, Dr. Dukas, sir.
For those who have met me before, Annie De Costa. I'm the medical director for Martindale First Aid Squad that's in Sullivan County.
We're glad, I knew who you were. I probably should have said something when you walked in, because I knew who you were. Well, thank you. Anything else?
What?
No?
Yes, okay, so, one of the, down in Westchester, there was we had the EMS advisory board. So the EMS advisory board got a number of independent filmmakers together, and they made this movie about EMS. And it's out there, it's being showed, and it was actually, unfortunately, I couldn't make it down, but it was actually shown in front of Congress on this last Wednesday. So this movie is being spread around. It's basically, EMS. The system is broken, and sort of pushing folks to realize what an important service this is, and part of our safety net and the whole thing goes into it. And they're really trying to get it out to certainly the politicians of the world, and certainly to the business community. So there may be some opportunities to start having showing. It's quite a good film, not just because I'm in it.
Did they really get it in front of Congress when they were seated, or was it during the time
I don't know.
of turmoil?
I don't know. And I don't know how many people. No, this was last Wednesday. So I don't know who. I don't even know if anyone showed up. I mean, who knows? They could have had a whole big thing in DC and no one showed. But.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm in process of actually trying to get the director of that film to do a screening at the Westchester County Department of Emergency Services. I'm literally in conversation with her as recently as this morning, tentatively trying to lock it down for Monday, November 27th, for a 7 p.m. screening. I'm waiting to confirm it because I was going to bring it to your attention later, but since the opportunity was there, so trying to get that rolling.
Where are you gonna?
The name is blanking. What's the name of the actual film?
Honorable Broken EMS Crisis.
Right. Yeah.
You gonna do it in the Bay?
No, it would be in classrooms 2 and 3, the joint classroom, and then they would broadcast it on the 2 screens in there. And the director is absolutely said she wants to do that and offer it on a Monday night, because the last few screenings, which were done in Westchester, in Chappaqua and Dobbsbury, just ironically happened to be both Wednesday nights. So she's like, maybe we could just do another weeknight, and so that's in process. So I hope to have that finalized as soon as this afternoon. If you're on Bill, I can send it up to you. It would go out on the Westchester listserv once it's confirmed, but then I can send it up here, because the second part of that is everybody in this room doesn't really need to be the target audience, because everybody in this room knows the status. We need the other people that don't know to be the main target audience. So the attempt was the commissioner of my department, once this is all confirmed, he's going to send it out to the county government, and then the county executive in Westchester will send it out to all the local municipality government officials to extend the invite to those folks. So that's what's in
What's
process.
the duration?
I believe it's about an hour and a half, around there.
Was anybody at the screening in Chappaqua or Pleasantville? I'm just wondering how the attendance was.
Both
Yeah.
nights that the initial screenings were held.
I was told the attendant, Briani, who's the director, she told me that the attendance at both locations was good, but it was basically all of us showing up, who
Yeah.
didn't need to be educated
You
about it.
want a
as
different
much.
audience for this
Exactly.
type of.
So, I'll have more for you later on that, Dr. Larson.
So we could look towards, are there, county executive meetings? Are there, open forums where you can, and maybe, just at least introduce it, and then people could get the screening. I imagine, does she have it up on sites that you can access?
There is like a 5-minute version of it.
Yeah, she has a website about the film itself, which will actually go out on the listserv, because she sent me the link for it to put out when the announcement gets confirmed.
All right,
And there is work at the state level and with her as well to get it more widely distributed. They're working on all of the copyright issues but they're hoping to have widespread distribution of it.
but I think, the point is well taken, that it needs to get into the visual aspect of some politicians and local governmental and municipalities beyond us guys, right?
Yeah, but we need it to be able to push it forward.
Yeah.
Because
No,
one
I totally
of our
understand.
counties is gonna drive down there, to see it.
I totally understand. I just mean, I wonder how many people in Congress saw it last week if she did with it. Okay, anything else for the open forum? All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Again, everybody, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Broken but not something.
Yes.
Honorable but broken.
That way you can, you can
I don't know where.
don't worry about
Yeah, I probably have it, so this is the actual
Did you see
algorithm.
that?
EMS in crisis.
I'll put it right on.
Oh, EMS in crisis?
And so I had a bunch of information I sent them, but then we were finding stuff that was like,
That was what?
it's like, there was, agency that's